Hello everyone, today I wanted to do a restaurant build, which I think is my first community lot on the channel. I wanted to create a veggie restaurant because I'm veggie, so I thought I would replicate something that is quite close to my heart, I guess. I built this in Myshuno just because I wanted to make a more modern restaurant and I thought it would fit quite well in this world. I go through a few phases of building it, but the main idea here is to have the interior of the restaurant, and then on the outside there's sort of an eating area on the left and sort of a bar having drinks area on the right. So we also do have like a bar inside and then the restaurant side, but as a lot type it operates as a restaurant. On the top floor we would have the bathrooms. Pretty simple build, but I think it's quite realistic to what you would have in a restaurant. I think there's always a mix of realistic with what looks good in builds, but I did want to make here you can see me doing the sort of the roof of it, I guess, even though there's no proper roof. I was gonna put it in, as you can see, but then I removed it, so then it leaves me with this area to put like a sign for the restaurant, and then on the sides there's going to be sort of like a skylight roof, which is quite nice and sort of plays with that airy openness plants sort of feel that I was going for. You can see that at the minute it's not a symmetric build. I will go back and change it so both sides of the roof, there you go. Here I'm editing that so it's a bit more symmetric from the front, even though the back fit's still not symmetric, just because that's where I placed the kitchen and I didn't want to make it too symmetrical everywhere anyway. Now I think I'm gonna go with the outside. Yep, so at first I knew I wanted it to be dark, but then I found this other sort of brick one that has the dark brick with the dark grout on it, which feels a bit more modern, so that's the one that I went for, as well as some of the eco lifestyle doors, I think, which have that metal frame on them, which looks quite nice. Putting a bit of that path on the sides, finding the tile that sort of matched the tiles in the world, even though the ones in the world place like diagonally and I couldn't do that with the normal tiles, but at least it matches them a bit better. And then creating some planter placements here on the side just to add a bit of that plant feel to it. If it's a veggie restaurant, we do want to have a lot of plant things to it, and at one point I thought I was gonna do sort of a garden in the back, just as if they were creating their own plants, but then I didn't think that worked, or it didn't really go as well with the feel of the world, so I decided not to do that in the end. Here you can see me struggle with the windows. I struggle with that a bit because they were clipping with the top, with that sort of half wall at the top, but I moved them around a little bit, as you will see here, and then I moved them again later on, so it doesn't really matter. And then I went with, what am I doing here? Put in more windows, which I'm using a few different types of windows, just because, as I said, I didn't want it to be too symmetrical, but still I wanted it to look nice. And placing some columns across the build, just because, again, I don't know how realistic this is, that you would have that many columns everywhere, but I think in terms of aesthetics in the game, it does look quite nice. And I did realize while I was editing this that from the front of the build, there's the right hand side, I'm missing one column, so I need to go back and edit that and add the column for the screenshots as well. I was like, I cannot believe that I left that. You can see that on the right hand side on the top floor, I'm missing that column, so I will go back and add that as well. I did want to add some things at the roof there, just so it went along with the rest of the buildings in that world a bit more, those billboards situation sort of thing. And here I'm placing one of the signs for the restaurant. A few things at the front as well. I do change that green one, the round green one that you can see at the front towards the end, but yeah, overall I did want it to have that proper restaurant feel, and I did want to replicate a few of the things that I've seen before, but equally making it look nice within the world. So I did want those vines, a few of the signs at the front. I don't know if a restaurant would have that many, but I did want to add a few things here and there just so it wouldn't look super empty. And then towards the back of the building, I did want to make it look a bit more like it was part of that world. So I did find the same trees on the debug catalog that you have on that left sort of triangle area there. So I'm placing those here. And yeah, I just wanted to make it look a bit more like it belongs in the world. Originally in this lot, it comes with a residential building, or residential lot. I just don't think it looks as nice with the world. It doesn't really make that much sense because you have all the apartments on one side and the karaoke bar. So I feel like a community lot fits a bit better within this lot. So that's why I wanted to create one. I don't know if I'll create a few more in this lot for you to see, but this is the one that immediately came to mind. And with the wallpaper here inside, I did want to go with something plant related, but then a lot of them just look too plant. So I just went with one that reminds me of sand, but more in the green swatch, if that makes sense. And then yeah, just putting some of those wallpapers and floorings everywhere throughout the build. I did use a funky custom content wallpaper in the hallway area towards the bathrooms, if that makes sense. I feel like that is quite common these days to have like a really interesting pattern either in the bathrooms or around the bathrooms. I've seen that a lot in restaurants in London especially, or things that people Instagram. But then yeah, inside making sure that I'm adding a lot of those mandatory items that you need to add for the restaurant lots to properly work, and then adding some of those outside tables here. As I said, I did want it to have that inside outside sort of situation, and I was trying to find what the best number or how do I make it work in the game but also look nice as a build, because at the end of the day I do want to use this as a restaurant in my game. So I didn't want to add too many tables everywhere because I know that the pack glitches a little bit. So I was trying to find that balance between looking nice and being able to use it later on. So here I'm still adding some of those decoration items, a few plants here and there. Like I said, I did want to have that plant greenery feel towards it. So I was adding a few of those, but equally I didn't want it to be everywhere. Like I didn't want every single wall to have plants. Adding some separation here as well, because on the right hand side I'm gonna have the bar area, which I think looks quite nice. It's quite simple, but I think it works again as a bar area, but also as a lot within the game for me to play with. And here's where I was changing that green sign at the front, adding sort of that menu that you would have at the front of a restaurant to look at before you actually go in. And figuring out, as I said, sort of that bar area. I think I go with just 3 round tables. Yeah, those 3 that I'm placing there, which look quite nice. And then on that outside area, I was also struggling with what to place. So I do go with some custom content sofas and a few of the chairs that came with Island Living that I really love those chairs. I think they look really nice and they go with a lot of different builds. So it has that sort of boho style to it. So it's still quite modern, but a bit more plant-like, if you want to say. I don't even know what I'm talking about. And then yeah, finalizing those chairs, having like a table of 2, a 3 and a 4, just because you never know what sims are going into the lot. So having that variety, which doesn't look too symmetrical, but in terms of gameplay I think it works a bit nicer. If you have a group of 4 sims going into the restaurant, you don't want to have 2 different tables. And then on the restaurant side, I did struggle a bit with the tables because I couldn't find any that worked with, one, the flooring, with that dark flooring, but also that would look modern enough for the build. Here I'm using some of the Snowy Escape tables, and then I like the chairs from Dream Home Decorator, but they didn't really match any of the tables that I was finding. So here I have both the tables and the chairs from Snowy Escape, but they just looked too traditional. So you will see that I've cut a lot of this, but I did struggle a lot. I tested a lot of the chairs and the tables that I could use. I didn't want it to just look, I wanted some wood within the tables and the chairs, but a lot of them just looked too traditional. So I did find this one in the end, but the problem is it didn't have a matching longer table. So instead of, I'm having those 2 people or 4 people, I couldn't find any bigger ones. So I find this one in the end, which doesn't really match, but here's what I was able to find. And at that point I was a bit too tired of going through tables and chairs, so that's what I did. And here I was just decorating some of the walls. Like I said, I wanted to include a lot of plants, but I also didn't want it to be everywhere, and adding some fairy lights as well, which are custom content as well. I just really love custom content. I think, sometimes when you get bored of the game, it's really nice to find some content online, and then suddenly you've got a lot more to play with. So I do have not a lot of custom content. I think I build on more and more as I go. I don't have a lot compared to a lot of people that I've seen on YouTube, but I do have a good amount, I think. And here I'm just building the toilets, basically one version of a toilet, and just having it across the 4 of them, with that one in the back being a bit longer. Quite basic, but the things that you would need in a bathroom for using it as a game, but also a bit for that look with the paper towels and sort of that thing that you might find in a restaurant bathroom. And then finally here I'm just looking at some of those outside things. Here I was trying to make it look like new concrete had been placed, which thankfully they have the same tiles in a lighter color, so that's what I was able to place. And just having some of that greenery towards the back, and a few more items that just they're just basically decorations, just make it look like some people maybe park towards the back of it, have some bikes maybe from the employees, you never know. And that's pretty much it. Then I think I just go in and do the whole menu lot traits situation. So basically just trying to find a bunch of those vegetarian safe items that come within the game, but also things that are quite normal in a vegetarian restaurant. Like I go to a lot of them, so not a lot of them, but I've gone to a few that are just vegetarian food. So just trying to mimic that a bit, and just adding all those items within the game that you can see there. There's quite a big variety actually, so I'm quite happy with that in the game actually. And I did find a few custom content items that I had added to my game that I didn't know I could actually find in the restaurant menus as well, so I was quite pleased with that. And that's basically it. I think I just show you a bit more of the lot here, but that's about it. If you guys liked the video, please like it, don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in the future with either a let's play or another build.